Hey everybody, welcome to Houdini Hangout. Here we are on September 13th. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a great middle of your week. So we've already had one stream this week on Monday. We've been doing Mops Mondays and kind of playing around with just kind of doing some motion graphics type stuff, playing around with the the tool set that's been developed there and just kind of seeing how it works, whether it's just straight up doing some fall off and animation in SOPs, or whether it's bringing it into the dynamics context and actually doing some simulations there. We've kind of been playing with both of those and seeing how that all works. So hey Zach, how's it going? Welcome to the stream, glad to have you. Hello. So it's been a interesting couple of weeks here. We've been kind of, doing that on Mondays, regular-ish, kind of just regular Houdini stuff. The rest of the on the Wednesdays. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting, and I've been trying to keep my voice intact as best as possible, but yeah, it gets a little sore sometimes by the time I'm done with talking on Wednesday. Hopefully I don't have to have any meetings tomorrow where I talk to anybody. But so tonight we're gonna talk a little bit about maybe driving some pyro simulations with particles, with pops. So I mean, this isn't really that out there as far as ideas go. I mean, really what you're sourcing pyro from in the current Houdini workflow is just particles, right? So that's the way kind of it's done in the current kind of Houdini workflow, is to source from particles, use those to basically create volumes from that, basically rasterizing the attributes into volumes, and then sourcing into a pyro simulation. So I think I saw some people screwing around with like Embergen or something like that, and they were doing all these like little particles kind of flying around and pyro coming off them and stuff. I was like, that'd be kind of a cool thing just to play around with. I mean, obviously it's not going to be as fast as that real-time stuff is, but hey, it's at least be fun to kind of play around with and see how we might do that in Houdini. I literally did not plan anything for tonight, as far as like, this is what I'm going to do. So, fingers crossed we're going to get something decent tonight. But we'll see, I guess. So that's the idea. And so we'll do maybe just a really simple pop simulation. Is it really the C4D release is Pyro or something? That's so funny. That is really funny. Okay, interesting. Well, there we go. I guess it's just very on brand for today. For some reason I am getting audio notifications in my ear, which is fine, but kind of would prefer not to, but that's fine. Anyways, Pyro from Particles of Points. Well, hey, there you go. And of course, their stuff is named Pyro as well. So that's just perfectly confusing. All good. Cool. Well, there we go. Well, maybe it'll just be a very particle pyro-y day. I did not watch that presentation yet. I am curious about what they released and everything, but any updates to USD in C4D? Probably not. I'm always curious, but I would be surprised. Anyways, so the other thing that I wanted to mention before I kind of dive into just screwing around and playing around with stuff is I put on the Discord, I put on there that like a poll or whatever, just because I've been thinking about possibly changing the time for these streams on Wednesdays. It seems like a lot more people join. Okay, there were updates to USD. Interesting. So, it seems like I have a lot more people join when we're looking at, when we're doing 6 p.m. my time versus 8 p.m. my time. I think that's mainly because of like Europe and stuff like that. But I just want to make sure that I'm not just doing something just kind of off the cuff. So there is a poll on the Discord where, let's see, it's under the topic polls, where you can go and vote and put in your choice there. Should we do it at 6 p.m.? Yes, no, doesn't matter. I'm going to leave it up for a week. And if you want to go on the Discord and vote in there, that would be super helpful to me to just kind of see what people are thinking and feeling. I want to make sure that this stream is at a time where I can kind of maximize the people that are able to attend. And I know that the later it gets, the more it kind of alienates people from Europe. So I'm kind of trying to be as mindful of that as I can be. But I kind of always assumed that my main audience would be in North America, since I'm in North America, but I never really thought about Europe being a part of that, watching me. I just had never thought of it. So that's why I was doing it at 8. So it was like, it's like 5 o'clock West Coast of the US, North America time. And so I was like, oh, that seems to make sense. But I just have been feeling like maybe 6 p.m. my time makes more sense. So that's the Eastern time zone. So if you want to look up what the time conversion is, feel free. So we're in Eastern Daylight Time, I think, right now. But anyways, so yeah, if you have any opinion on that, or even if you don't have an opinion on that, you can go and vote. It doesn't matter. So yeah, that's one more thing just to kind of add to the little bit of housekeeping. But for this evening, please feel free to give any and all feedback. I'm probably going to stumble into some dumb thing at some point. So if I'm doing something dumb, let me know. Please drop a line in the comments in the chat. That would be, always happy to have a little bit of constructive criticism throughout it if I'm doing something goofy. And if you're not understanding something, please ask questions, any comments, ideas, thoughts that you might have. If you're thinking, well, what if you did this to the simulation or whatever and kind of pushed it in this direction? Cool. We can kind of explore those things and play around. I don't have too much of a framework for the stream tonight, but I have some ideas, and we'll kind of see. I'm in South America and it's 6 p.m. in my country. Well, that's great. Glad to have you, Gers. Cool. Well, welcome. It's crazy. I can't believe, people, I never really thought about people from other countries watching my stream. Midnight here. Yep. Midnight. So you must be in the UK or something. Interesting. Cool. So yeah. Spain. Right. So yeah. So, if you want to go on and vote, that would be cool. That'll just kind of let me tally up who thinks what, and if it's helpful or better or worse or whatever. Happy to just hear kind of what everybody's saying. So, cool. Well, without any more of me just chatting away, I guess we'll dive in and get some Houdini stuff going. So yeah, please, comments, thoughts, anything like that, always welcome here. No dumb questions. All right. So let's see. What do we want to do here? All right. So let's just start with the standard kind of setup here. We'll just add a geo, and we'll just say, we'll just do a particle sim here. Give it a little color. All right, let's dive inside. Let's just start with the standard sphere setup. Make it a little smaller, and I'm also going to raise it up a little bit here. So let's do this. So I'm thinking I want to have it kind of collide with the ground. So let's move this up a little bit here so that it's, sitting in space. I'm going to give this, instead of being the polygon mesh, I don't know why I always like to have the more triangulated geometry, just so it just seems like it makes a better mesh for me. I don't know. I just don't like the poles on the quad one. So we've got this. Let's let's maybe, let's bring this, sorry. Let's bring the scale down just a little bit on this. I'm just going to do this at like half or something. Cool. All right, so let's do a pop network, which is just a dynamics network, a DOP network, but has the pops inside of it. Pops actually used to, I think, be its own thing back in the day. I never used Houdini when there was a dedicated pop network, but I'm pretty sure that's why that exists still. It's kind of a holdover from that. So anyways, so we've got our network here. That's way too many particles. I don't need that many. So let's jump inside and let's change this up. Birth, I don't know. Let's do 250 maybe. That might be good. I don't know. We'll see where that gets us to. Yeah, cool. All right, so we've got that. Let's also add some attributes here just to kind of give us some initial velocities and things like that. So let's do, let's see, can we do that from point velocity? I can't remember if we can do that from here. From object, no. What does this do? Conical noise. What's that going to give us? No, it's just going to go up. Okay, so let's do this. Let's just add some normals. And let's add that on the points. So now we'll have our point normals, and we can take this and kind of turn it into a velocity. So we'll do that. Let's just attribute rename. Easy enough. I'm just going to pull this up so we can kind of see what I'm doing here. So we've got our points. We've got our normals. Let's just go from N to V because we don't really need to change anything about it. That's just going to set us back to having these as just kind of vertex normals. I kind of what do you call that? Not implicit. I can't think of the word, but they're like pre-computed, right? So we're no longer stating a normal value, so it's just kind of computing it. And if we look inside here, we can see that there are actually it's all pointing away because this little motion trail is basically saying what the like kind of the direction that it would be trailing behind the point. Kind of, if it was moving, that's kind of the trail that would be left behind it. So just a different way to visualize that vector. But so now we've got velocities in here. And if we do this, they should just shoot out because that should automatically give us something. So we've got something going on here. Super exciting, amazing simulation. Let's do this. Let's do a gravity force. Because I think it'd be cool to have these come down. Now they're going to fall way too quickly. So let's do this. Let me turn my speed down here because we obviously don't want that to just go as fast as it possibly can because it doesn't take much to calculate this. So all right, so we've got our particle system there. Let's actually do something a little different here. All right, so we've got that. Now let's add in this point velocity. So actually, I think I'd like for this to while it's shooting out, I do also want it to go up a bit. So let's see from attribute. Oh, that's how to do it. Don't need to do this. Dummy. All right, there we go. Point velocity. That's how you do it. So from attribute, we're getting it from the N, we're replacing it, we're scaling it. Cool. So the nice thing about this, and I was kind of thinking it might be an option on here, is that we can actually adjust this. So we can take this scale, we can go up to 2, it's going to scale it to 2, 3, all that kind of stuff. So wonderful. That's more what I'm hoping for. And let's give it a little bit of conical noise as well. So we're going to add this in, and what this is going to do is kind of help us go maybe up a bit more, like so. So it's going to go up and out. So that's kind of cool. Get something like that going. And let's also give this a life. Like maybe we give it life expectancy of like 2 seconds. Oh, not 23, 2. I did it again. Wow, 2. And let's do the variance at maybe 0.5. Give that a shot. See how that goes. Nah, it's a bit too long. Oh, cool. Yeah, thank you. Good point. Good point. It's very visible to me, but that is a great point. How does that look? Any better? Maybe gray would even be better. I don't know if there's any difference there. I don't know if gray or black is better. Just let me know and I'll switch it. Switch it over. Cool. All right. So black is best. Let's do it. Okay. So we've got this. Let's get some pop wind in here as well. So you can do this. I think I talked about this last time. You can do this with the merge. You can do it either way, where you just have it in the stream here, or you can have it next to it. It's in a lot of cases, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But in this case, we'll do it this way. Let's give this a little bit of amplitude. Let's see if we can see the swirl size here as well. Yeah, let's maybe give it a little bigger swirl. And pulse length, maybe go to like 3 or something. I don't know. I don't want to go too long with it, but let's also go like a little heavier on this. Turn the guide down here. Yeah, that's starting to get a little bit more where I'd want it to go. All right. So let's do this. Let's give it a bit more scale going up. And I think I'm just going to turn the source down as well. Don't want it to be too crazy. We just want to have a few of them kind of going around in here. Yeah, we could still probably go less. A little less to start would probably be good. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. So something like that just to begin. And let's just do this as well. 0. I'm going to turn the air resistance down maybe just a little bit. And then let's also add in maybe a ground plane here as well. Do a merge. Just hook these in here so that we've got a ground plane. It'll just kind of deflect off of that now and yes, we'll need a little more amplitude on this. Maybe 8. I don't know, we'll see. I don't want them to just kind of sit on the ground when they get all right, let's lift this up in the air a little more. Give ourselves a little more space for it. Cool. All right, let's also try one more thing here. Let's do let's change the life expectancy here. Let's do it 1. We'll change it like that. See if that's any better. And let's also do a pop drag as well. Can I type? Pop drag. Let's do this as well. Wire this in here. I don't want it to have complete air resistance. Let's maybe give it a 1/4. Let's see how that goes. Cool. All right, so that's giving us something here. I'm just going to turn that off. Just curious if we can give it a little more inherited velocity, or a bit more. Yeah, maybe just scaling that up a little bit will be nice. Cool. Okay, that's starting to do something I like. Nice. All right, so let's just come down here, drop a null in. Hopefully we're getting, okay. So one thing to just kind of keep in mind here is that we have, oh, you know what? Let me do this as well. I forgot about this. Geometry. No. There it is, guides. All right, that's not what I meant to do. All right, we'll just do this. Geometry point size. Let's do this here. This way I don't have to turn the visualizer on. So there we go. Now we can actually maybe see the points a little better too. All right, so in here, when we are simulating, that's interesting. We've got some stuck things happening here. Let me just make sure we're saved, and then I'm going to reset. There we go. Much better. All right, so we're just going to say out particles down there. So here on this popnet, what I'm going to do is just type in pop star like this. The reason that I'm doing this is because I'm basically just using this to merge that data from the dynamics network back into my geometry context here, right? You could specify the data that you're looking for. I believe in this case we would do geometry, if I can type. And that should be just the geometry. However, I don't think that there's anything that would be coming in otherwise. Let me just see. Yeah, I don't see anything different that would be coming in. So, so you can, you know, if you do have a DOP network like this, you can use this to bring in certain data into this output. Now, there are the other ways that you can do that is with a DOP IO. Yep, like this. So you import your field and, or sorry, DOP import field. This will bring in, you know, you could different options here that you can do. You could just type in particles and then you select all this stuff and you've got your file cache and all that. So I'm not going to do the file cache in this case. I don't really think it's super necessary because this is such a lightweight simulation. I mean, I literally can just scrub it. So I'm not going to worry too much about that, but there's multiple ways that you can bring data in and out of these. DOP networks don't feel like you have to just go out this output. You could do the DOP field and bring that in that way. So, okay, so we've got some particles going here. Hopefully this is not anything that maybe you haven't seen before. All pretty straightforward. So let's do this. So that's sim particles. Let's go here to another geometry node and we'll call this one sim Pyro. Now, this is obviously where we're going to get into something hopefully a little bit more interesting here because let's object merge that in. Let's say get particles and let's grab that. So out particles right there. Cool. So we've got our particles coming in from our other geometry. Now, obviously you could do this from a file on disk. You could do this from just about anything. So any other, you know, software package you could bring in a particle simulation from. I mean, I can't imagine a software that doesn't have particles on some level in it. So you could certainly bring this in from somewhere else if you wanted to as well. But in this case, obviously, we're just bringing it in from another geometry object. And let's start doing some stuff with it. So one nice thing, obviously, is we have our velocity on here, right? So these all have velocity. So that's good. So that's going to allow us to be able to use that as a source into this. the other, actually what I'm going to do real quick before we go any further here is I'm just going to clean this up. I'm going to do an attribute delete in here and just I'm going to delete non-selected and only bring through the things that I need. So position, velocity, don't really think I need the normal. Maybe the age could be helpful. ID could be good. Life, sure. And yeah, that should be fine for right now. Cool. So let's just do that. That'll only let through those attributes through here. And that way we don't have like a huge amount of information coming into our geometry spreadsheet. And it's just nicer to not have to deal with all those attributes. It saves you some space if you had a huge simulation or something. Obviously, this is very small. We have like 25 points. So nothing too crazy. Anyways, let's just start kind of... Let's just do this. Let's do a rasterize, volume rasterize attributes. So let's do this and let's start to kind of make up something for ourselves here. Yeah, I mean, groups, sure, they're gonna save space as well. Any geometry, any data that's on this is going to save some space. So yeah, for sure, you could delete groups. If you have a lot of groups, I would highly recommend that because really your data is going to be, think of it this way. Each one of these columns is data, right? So when you're saving like a vector, you're saving 3 floats, right? When you're saving ID, you're saving 1 integer. When you're saving a group, you're saving an integer. So I mean, there's going to be different memory necessities for each of those. And I don't specifically claim to even know those at all. But for sure, if you just only put through the things that you absolutely need, that's going to save you space. So yeah, getting groups. I mean, there's times I've seen like certain situations where maybe you're importing alembic geometry or something from disk and there's like 800 groups or some stupid thing like that. And it's like, yeah, get those out of there if you don't need them. If you need them, then use them. But, there's also pathing stuff that you can use in Alembics that's that can be nice to not have to deal with groups. So, I mean, it's all data that has to be stored, right? If you have a long path is obviously going to take up more data than a short path. I mean, there might be ways that they optimize that when they save it and stuff like that. But that's just my understanding of it. And I mean, someone else can certainly correct me if I'm wrong in that, but yeah, I basically just will, in most cases, try to only bring through the stuff, especially in production, only the stuff that I need. Like if there's a few extra things, it's like whatever. But in that case, there was just so many extra things. It's just like I don't need to deal with all that. What do we go from here? Let me just see. 23 point attributes to 5. So it just it's gonna be better overall. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna, instead of doing this, I'm gonna do the Pyro source attribute here because then I can get some attributes set on this as well. I'm just going to say keep input because we're just going to keep this input as is. But this should help to be able to kind of set up some attributes that'll be helpful. So we're keeping the input. Let's initialize source burn. So we'll do burn and temperature. That sounds good. You can do any number of these things, like if you wanted to do different colors or fuel or whatever. I think I want these to be like fire. So I want to do burn and temperature. And then we'll source our different fields from that in the actual solver. So first we want to do that. So we've got some attributes to work with. Then we can do a volume rasterize attributes. And now we should be able to start, setting this up. Let me go like this, 0.5. Oh, sorry. That's why, because we don't have attributes. So let's do burn and temperature. We'll normalize that by the clamped range. That looks good. Looks like we're getting something there. So what we're going to run into here is a little bit of, we kind of want to scale this based on, the size we want these particles to be, right? Because they're just going to be, they're just points in space right now, right? We don't have any, there's not geometry that we're really sourcing these from. So the kind of way I'm imagining this is that each of these like points is like one kind of fire source, like burning source, more or less. And so what we can do here is we can kind of scale this particle size, right? And that's really going to be the thing that helps to define what it is that we're actually, where we're going to see this, right? So in this case, we're using a Gaussian filter. So this is going to make for a pretty nice soft sphere around this. So we can kind of play with that to our advantage, right? So we can, let me just set this back to 1. We can see, obviously we can kind of make this more or less dense here. And then if we do this, that's going to really change the actual scale of it. So this is kind of like, it's kind of like adding more density into it, but I'm just going to leave that at 1 right now. We can always come up here and change the scale of something like the burn or the temperature as well, in order to, make more or less, sourcing into our simulation. Now, in this case, we're going to be using burn and temperature and not density. So for that, we're kind of just matching them up to like these values arbitrarily to temperatures and things like that. And the burn is just kind of like saying, is this burning or not? So there's no reason to really scale it up. It's not going to make more dense smoke for us. We can kind of tweak that in the next step. Okay, so we've got this starting to be rasterized. However, they're kind of flying around and everything. Nice thing is this obviously actually rasterizes really quick. We're at 24 frames a second, which is pretty nice. I mean, I'm actually clamped. This will go higher. But so this is nice and quick, which is cool. What we might want to try to do is do this velocity blur here. We can kind of see that as these have like more velocity, they're going to actually be blurred into the scene. Oh, that's another thing I want to bring through is the V. So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to say, maybe just burn it. Can I? Actually, I've never. Oh, yeah, interesting. I wasn't sure if I could select multiple ones there. Let's just do this. Burn temperature. Cool. I don't need to visualize the velocity, so that's why I'm just setting it that way. All right, so we've got that. That's looking good. And if we look at our geometry spreadsheet down here for our primitive attributes, we're going to see that the names are showing up here as well. If we middle click, we'll see that we have 3 VDBs: burn, temperature, and V for velocity. Now we could also, we might also want to rename V, but in this case, we'll just leave it as it is, because in this Pyro sourcing, we can change that. So that should be no real issue. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. We've got some volumetric data here. We can obviously change the voxel size if needed. So if we want to do 0.05, something like that. Obviously this will be a little slower, but I don't think we really need to worry too much about that right now. Why don't we just split the difference and just make sure we've got a reasonable amount of voxels, but I think we should be pretty good here. It's not super high, but we'll start with this for right now. Let's do a Pyro solver. Okay, cool. Oh, I was on frame 66. All right, so let's just see what happens here when we start. We'll kind of play around with things. Yep, already got some burning going on, so that's cool. Cool. Nice. So we've already got something happening here. It's not quite what I would like for it to be, but we've got some little balls of fire shooting around in here and stuff. What's our voxel size? Our voxel size isn't crazy big. It's at 0.01. Why don't we at least just match those together? So let's paste this in here. There we go. And what we're going to see actually is that we're going to get a little stepping here. And that's because these are moving pretty quickly. I think what I'm going to do is up the max substeps a little bit here and just see what that gives us. Yep, sure enough, that's going to give us a much cleaner result. And in fact, I might not even need to go that high. Just go to 2 here for a second. Sure, that's fine. That'll give us just a little bit cleaner result. So what I'm doing there is I'm giving it a minimum and a maximum substep value, and that is based on this. That's based on this CFL condition, which it determines. Right. So I think that it's basically, yeah, interesting. It's basically saying that it's using some calculations basically to kind of determine whether or not it needs to go up to that higher substep. Now, in this case, everything's moving pretty quickly, so I think it's just going to kind of automatically go up to 2. It's just a way to not have to have the global substeps just across the board go up. I'm going to also change this for myself. Be wary with that because you could use up all your RAM. So just know that that's the number of gigs of cache that I'm storing as I'm playing through this. So there's a couple things here to just kind of think about. Luckily, this is sparse, so this is going to be a lot better to do for this than like a dense simulation. However, if you wanted to do it on the GPU, you could do dense and then turn on. Let me see. How do you do that? Dense. There you go. So you can turn on dense and then use OpenCL. Let me know if this freaks my microphone out at any point. I've kind of been somebody mentioned that to me the other day. So if you hear anything weird, you can just let me know. But let me see what this does. Yeah, this definitely is not as efficient. Cool. Thanks, Poxia. Let me just see. Maybe it's a substep thing. No. Yeah. So anyways, this dense version is going to basically be the way that you're able to use OpenCL if you wanted to. But in my case, the CPU solver is actually fine because I have a few cores on my CPU, so they're all doing pretty good. Anyways, but sparse is also nice. It helps kind of optimize it and things like that. Okay, I'm just kind of looking through some settings here just to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Cool. Ah, yes, Robin. Hello. No, actually, this is multi-threaded. All my cores are popping up in the air, but yeah, for sure, it's definitely going to be heavier when you're doing something like rendering or everything's maxed, for sure. Cool. Okay, so just a couple things to keep in mind here. You can limit your maximum size, so if there was like a bound that you needed to set it to. Oh no, it's cool. That's great. No, it's you're totally right that when the cores are maxed, that it is it's getting hit. But yeah, no, this node is definitely multi-threaded for this simulation type. Oh, another thing I should do is treat Y as closed below 0, so that if it does go down, it just stops there, right? So we don't have any overlap past the ground. You can see it when it hits the ground, it kind of makes for a little bit of a nicer visual there because it doesn't go under, right? So it's just makes for the ground, makes it act a little bit nicer. Cool. So the one thing I want to do is look at some of these sourcing things, make sure that this is working right. We're not actually sourcing density here, so that's interesting. We don't really need that, but I'll leave it for right now. Temperature, burn, and again, V is being changed into velocity, so that's all good as well. So our velocity is getting sourced in right now. The one thing that I do want to mess with, emit from flame right here. So I want to emit from our flame range, basically. So let's do this and kind of see how this turns out. And so now what you're going to see is that there's going to be density that's going to be emitted from this. And maybe I want it to be a little bit higher. Let's do like 2. And I don't think I want the dissipation quite so high, so let's do that a little less. And also, don't really want it to be rising up quite so much. So let's see if I can tweak that a little bit. So it's going to be in shape, I think. Buoyancy, yep. So let's do this. Let's turn the buoyancy scale down a bit. It should keep it a bit more. Yep. And then let's up the density of what's coming off of that there. Let's do that. Let's do it like 5. Oh, the other thing we might need to tweak here a little bit is the flame range. So I'll have to take a look at that. So we're starting to get these a little bit of trails, but it's a little too wispy here. So let's play around with this a little bit. Okay. So I'm just going to bring this down a little bit to see if we can't remap this a little heavier. There we go. Now this is visualizing the what do you call it? The actual flame field. So whenever, hey Sig, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. So whenever you change this field guide here, you'll see it kind of offsets it to the side to be able to visualize it. So that's kind of cool. We got a little bit more, a little bit more density showing up in here. So that's looking kind of interesting. Now, the one thing to just keep in mind is that we have our, our smoke looks really white right now, right? And that doesn't really have anything to do with what the simulation is doing. That's just kind of how we're visualizing the data, right? So if we go over to the look here, this is where that's all going to get controlled from. So what I actually am going to do is let's just kind of play around with this a little bit for a second. Let's just darken that up a little. Let me just see if this is easier to see with the background light. Let me just see. Nope. Not at all. Cool. Gray. Nope. All right, we'll keep it dark, I guess. So the thing we're going to want to do here is probably give this quite a bit more density. I'm also going to make sure this is like darker. So we'll do 0.2. We can tweak the fire intensity scale. We can tweak the range here as well. So we can kind of give this a little bit, we can kind of play around with this. Now, this is not, this doesn't have to be the last time you do this. This is just a visualizer, basically, that's being, I can turn this off to not assign the material. But we can tweak this after the fact as well. So we can do a Pyro bake volume. So this is kind of your after, the place that you can kind of go afterwards. So here we can set, our density scale to be, way higher, right? And this, you can do this in here as well. Sorry. So you can go like like that. That's probably more what we'd want anyways. But maybe we'll do like 15 here. Nope, sorry. Maybe we'll do like 10. Change the color. Something like that. And you might be like, where's the fire? Well, if we turn the fire on, that's going to give us our fire volume. We can kind of play around with our ramp here so that it's only going to be in the, you know, kind of in these absolute hottest areas, right? So we can just have these fireballs kind of at the end here. So, so we've got that starting to go. The other thing that we can do as well is we can have the scatter involved. Now with this, let's see how much we get here. Might not be super noticeable with the scatter, but those are probably going to be a few places where you'll see it. Let's see. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see, but I mean, like, you know, you get a little bit of it like coming through some of these areas here. So you can, you know, you can sort of play around with that as you would like. This masking is actually really important because it makes sure that it doesn't just blast through everything and make this kind of just glowy mess, right? So, you know, you can kind of play around with some of those things as well. Let's see here. You can play around with that, how much masking it kind of applies to it. But we'll just leave that at default for right now. Cool. So I think the only thing with scatter is that it does take a little bit of time to calculate because you're doing some like blurring and things like that. Like if you don't do the blur, it doesn't really do much of anything. But yeah, so now we're getting something a little bit more like what we would want. However, we still have these pretty all right, sorry, that's for the scatter. There's the fire. Oh, interesting. That is supposed to be for the scatter, like that. I was thinking this. So, so when this plays, I think it actually downsamples it. Yep. And then when it, yep. So, so you see it looks a lot choppier when you're like playing it back like this. It looks like way more like aliased almost. And then when you stop it, it gets way smoother. That like when you tumble around, it does the same thing. That's just like kind of like a visualization optimized thing. So just know that when I'm playing this back, you're seeing it a lot more rough looking than it actually will look like kind of in the end. So, okay, so we've got this starting to kind of work, but I'm seeing a couple things. One thing is that it still feels maybe a little too wispy for my taste. Also, let's just do this. I think we could just get some of these. I'm going to turn this off. We don't need that anymore. I'm going to try to match this a little bit closer here. So we won't be able to get the under look. We won't be able to get the glow kind of thing, but let's get this a little closer. Let's do 10 here. That's a little closer. Fire's at 250. And what was, yeah, that's fine. We can just do. Just curious what the range is. Okay. Cool. All right. So that's a little closer to what this end result is. You can see obviously we're getting nicer, you know, scattering in here and some other things, but this is just sort of like a first step, right? So this will just give us a better look between the two. But what I'm seeing is like, I'd really like this to be a bit more like puffy and billowy, I think. It just feels a little too like streaky, I think, right now. So let's try to kind of fix that a little bit. And I think what we can do that with is well, first of all, we need to add some noise here, or basically some disturbance on the edge so that we don't have this like just these like puffy things going on. That's just, this right here looks silly. That's not how smoke looks. So let's tweak that first. So we'll go under shape, and let's grab some disturbance. And what this is going to do is add in like basically a way to break this up across. You'll start to see these get some more noise on the edges here. That's really what we're talking about here when we're talking about disturbance. So it's going to add some of these little noisy pieces in here. Now, the thing that I actually want to do is actually have it, I like to drive that disturbance by the speed of the smoke. So the way that you would do that in here is you would come to fields, right? It's in fields. And we're just going to check speed on. So speed is, that's going to basically calculate a speed field for us. And if we look down here, we should see, oh no, actually we don't see it yet because I'm not outputting it. You have to output it to be able to see that. But at this point, excuse me, we're getting a field that's being created in the background called speed. If we go inside of here, we actually will see that it's in here. If we jump inside here, this is all of our, advections and sources and things like that. I'm not going to be playing around with this really at all, but in here you can see that we now have a speed field, which is good. So that's good. And let's go over here to our shape. And underneath here, we can say use control field. And by default, it has speed in the control field. But as I was saying before, you wouldn't have the speed field for it to look up unless you turn that on. So it's kind of you need it set up first to be able to kind of work that way. So what I'm going to do is just let this run for a second. And I'm going to see what the speed control range is here. So let's compute the range here. So our control range is our range for our speed field is between 0 and 7.6. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to change how this works here. So let's, I don't want it to add anything until it hits a certain threshold. Like, cause if something's just kind of drifting, I don't want there to be like disturbance happening to it and making like noise. I want it to just kind of be able to sit and drift a little bit. So I'm going to give it like, I don't know, let's do like 0.25 for that. And then for the top end, let's do like 1, because there's probably a couple that are moving at 7, but there's probably not that many. So let's just do it this way. This way it has the ability to slow down and kind of come to rest without having little noise being added into it. However, you probably won't see too much happening here yet because it's just a small little adjustment that's happening. It's not really this huge amount. So let's do this. Let's actually turn this off for 1 second. And I'm just going to turn the disturbance up a little bit to see if probably if it's to 5, we'll definitely see it around here. So let's take a look at that. And now you're really going to see this. See how this is all breaking up here? That's our disturbance, right? So that's too much. We don't want it to be disturbed that much. Let's go down to maybe like 2.5. See how that does. Yeah, not bad, but it's still maybe, well, it's doing better. But so now if you think about this is what it just does on its own, right? And let's actually watch this for a second because I want to kind of explicitly kind of say what's going on here, right? And it's not terrible. This isn't working terribly, right? But I think sometimes you can run into the problem of you want your smoke to just be able to settle without continually adding all this noise into it, right? So I'm just going to let this kind of simulate out and we can kind of maybe look at some of these pieces. And this actually is doing okay. It's shredding it a bit too much, but I think when you see it in motion, like in kind of more real-time motion, hopefully you can see that on the stream and the compression isn't completely killing it. Almost there. Cool. So the thing that I don't like about this is how when it gets to the end, it kind of keeps pushing itself apart and kind of shredding itself apart, even when it's sitting still. That doesn't feel very natural. I want it to be able to sit a bit more than this. I like what it's doing in some of the other cases, though. It's just I don't like once it gets to this kind of soft look where it continues to push like this. So let's throw that control field in and see kind of where this gets us. So I'm thinking now that I might have this low end maybe up too high. So let's try up raising that a little bit because it's actually not grabbing as much as I would like it to. So let's see. And let's bring this down a little bit as well. Yeah, I think that's starting to do more of what I kind of want it to do. So the benefit here is that these like kind of drifty pieces aren't going to get so like chunked up, but anything that's kind of still moving is going to get that noise added to it. So it's going to keep kind of pushing itself around a little bit. And you can tweak these settings like crazy, right? Like this is not, you know, specifically the only way that you could do these things. You know, maybe it's too much in certain cases, you know, you can kind of tweak these and play around with them. But, you know, this is just sort of, you know, off the cuff, kind of just thinking about how this, you know, might work best. And I'm certainly not an expert at Pyro. If you want to talk to experts at Pyro, go check out the new Axiom stuff, the Theory Accelerated. They have a ton of really great training. Urban has been doing Pyro explosions for way longer than I have even probably looked at any of this stuff. So yeah, great resource. Got to actually meet him at SIGGRAPH as well, which was nice. So yeah, check his stuff out if you're interested in some like how to do Pyro well. This is just kind of the get it up and running phase. So yeah, we could keep tweaking these things like crazy. Another thing, wonder if this will do what I want it to. I know that there is a divergence field as well that you can add in. However, or that you can source in divergence, and that'll help kind of push these things out as they're kind of sourcing in. However, I wonder if, and I don't know the answer for this, but I kind of wonder if this flame expansion is sort of what I'm looking for. So let's try that. I'm not sure what it's going to do. Might not do much of anything, to be honest. Honestly, let's just take a look here. Anything? Oh, yeah. It's exactly what I want. So it's the amount of divergence from the flame field. Perfect. It's exactly what I want. Let me just make sure. Yep. Cool. So this is going to add in divergence based on where that flame field is being sourced into this simulation. So let's just kind of go crazy with this and see. Let me just go like 2. I don't know what that's going to do for us, but yeah. Yeah, so what it's doing is it's adding expansion around our flame, basically. So it's kind of allowing us to kind of push more. Yeah. Yeah, you can see how this is spreading, right? So we're adding in this divergence. That's really insane. That's obviously way too much. And it's going to have a runaway effect, and we're going to get into some crazy stuff there at a certain point. Yep. Right here. So when you add in obviously too much divergence, it starts just adding in this insane amount of pressure, and that doesn't work. So anyways, let's cut this back a bit. I don't know what's going to be the right answer here. Hopefully we don't run into that like crazy runaway Explosion again. Oppenheimer. Yes, I have become death. I haven't seen that movie. It's probably a real shame on me, but yeah, I have not seen that movie. Or Barbie. I saw neither. So I was 2023 has been a major failure for me, apparently. But I guess I just a little jaded when he said, when Nolan said there was no VFX in it. I was like, well, maybe I'm not going to go see this. I don't know. So, okay. So we're starting this looks like this is maybe adding kind of what we would want to have here. Now you can kind of, add whatever you'd want in here. Maybe it's 1 1/4. Maybe that's better just to get a little divergence. So we're still kind of keeping these. Felt like cheap fire. I've heard that from a lot of VFX people. So I'm also like sort of a little bit like, honestly, Wallaby, I saw it somewhere. I saw somebody doing something like this. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I could probably do that in Houdini. I think it was like an Embergen thing, or maybe it was Cinema. Maybe I saw like an early thing of that in my feed. And I was just like, maybe they did like a little teaser or something like that. And I was like, oh, cool. I'll just do that as well. But I don't remember. It's kind of funny that if it's Cinema and they release today, it totally was not, was not my plan. But anyways, yes. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that I should be setting in here. Let me do this advection reflection. I'm just going to turn that on because that I think will help some with the ground here a little bit. All right, I'm going to close this because this is not going to be helpful at all. We'll just let this be a little bit bigger. That is the one thing that's a little weird about volumes, and I should maybe just kind of talk about that for a second, is that you can't, in this case, using our geometry spreadsheet is kind of useless because we can't kind of poke and prod at what's going on inside of here, right? We can see some of the things here, right? We can see what our maximum and minimum are for these different fields. We can see, the dynamics object that it's coming from. In this case, they're all coming from the same dynamics object. What the color is, I guess. But there's not really a ton of information here for us, right? We've got some things here that we could maybe look at, some different visualization type things. Oh, right. That's how it's setting it, right? So we're actually setting these attributes here to be able to visualize it in the viewport. So they're all detail attributes. So when you look at this, we have 21 detail attributes there. So if I deleted all those detail attributes, you wouldn't be able to see those in the viewport. So just a little thing to keep in mind. So we can't really like poke and prod at some of these things that we might want to normally. So that's why, especially in this case, we have these field guides, right? So we could drop in velocity here. Now we can kind of see our velocity going through this, right? So this allows us to kind of inspect what's happening here. I think we can twirl this down and kind of, we can see, sure, we need, so in this case, we need some, we're sourcing points and we're using, what do you call that? Volume, what's it called? Can't think of the node. Volume trail. So we're doing volume trail to trail these points through this volume. So that's what we're getting there. We can also compute the range here. We can kind of change our visualization colors and things like that. So, there you go. So this is going to visualize kind of throughout this. And you can see that this is changing because it has to change in accordance to how the voxel scale is, right? So depending on how many voxels we're actually seeing tells it how to kind of sort and where to put this in visual space, right? So it's kind of a weird thing. You can't always just visualize these things real easily. If we want to look at temperature, there we go. Now we're actually seeing a volumetric representation of temperature. Again, we can change the guide here so we can see, okay, now it, probably we have maybe, maybe like 6 is the highest temperature part. And as we scrub through this, we can see that, there's a visualization of where our temperature is in this actual, so these are, you can also do a plane visualization here, which is a little funky, But this will just slice it in a 2D plane across this. It's a little hard maybe to see here, but if I do this, maybe that'll make it. Yeah, you can see I'm kind of slicing through it 2-dimensionally. Hello, go away. That's what I wanted. So yeah, so this just something to keep in mind. You know, these are how, this is like a little added thing here that allows us to visualize these, but you know, there's it's a little harder to kind of tweak through these different settings and stuff like that. Another thing I should mention as well is if you wanted this to, you were like, well, first of all, this says bounding box, but it seems stupid because the bounding box is on. Well, you can turn that off if you go up here to smooth shaded. That'll get rid of the bounding box. So now we're just looking at the volume. So now we can just kind of see, yep, there's the volume kind of moving around. Cool. Doing its thing. So what we can do then is, yeah, so then this field, when I go here to bounding box, it's actually going to show the bounding box, right? Voxel size, how does that work? What does that do? Calculates the divisions. Yeah, there you go. There you can see the size of the voxels. Cool. A little heavy-handed. You wouldn't want to play through with this because it calculates that every single time. It's kind of annoying. But you can see what it looks like. Sorry, I'm kind of clicking a little fast. Here's pressure in a 2D plane. There's 3D pressure. Actually, we can look at divergence as well. There's our divergence, and it's really just around the flames and stuff. So anyways, just to kind of know how to kind of inspect and kind of know what's happening inside of your Pyro simulation is a bit different than, you know, what would happen with, you know, with a regular geometry spreadsheet. All right, let's throw a camera in here and see what we can do. Camera, actually, sorry, I'm gonna use the, yeah, let's open the tree view. I'm having a hard time clicking today. All right, I'm gonna control click on that. That's gonna drop a camera down right where I am. Hide this again. I'll just say final, I guess. I don't know. And let's back up a little here just so we got it all on the viewport. Cool. Yeah. All right. So what I want to do is I just kind of let it simulate for a second here. All right. I just want to see what the difference is going to be with this shape flame expansion on. So let's take a look at that. So I'm going to just do a flip book here. I got the little nomen in there. Nomen. That's all right. We'll live. Nice thing is we get a much smoother kind of result here with this because we're allowing it to kind of do that filtering on the viewport. So we get this nice kind of smoothed result. So that's cool. Yeah, this is definitely an interesting, kind of like there's part of me that almost like is seeing some sort of like Mario kind of thing where he's like shooting fireballs or something. I don't know. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I guess the really cool thing about this is that we're not really like, we're not stuck with our simulation just being truly just based off of physics, right? We could influence our pop simulation, and that in turn will influence our Pyro simulation. So that's kind of the really nice thing here, is that we're not just starting an initial state or doing some sort of like, I mean, you could do trails as well, and that would be easily adjusted, but our pop simulation is what's ultimately driving this. Oh, that finished. I'm like talking while I'm waiting for it. All right, let's turn this off and just see what the difference is. All right. And let's let that go. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a fair bit of difference, but we'll see. It's pretty quick to sim. I mean, results may vary. I don't know. You know, I'm just kind of letting this do its thing at defaults and just kind of clicking settings and stuff. So, yeah, you might be faster, might be slower for you. No promises. Speaking of performance. I'm I'm so ready for the 7000 series Threadrippers to come out. I want them so bad. I have not updated my computer in a couple years, and I would love to. Not that it's bad. My wife uses it all day, so I'd really like to have my own computer that I could actually use again. All right, let's see. What would be a good frame to kind of A/B here? Let's do that. Let's go to image, compare images. Yeah, so that's really what you're seeing. You're seeing an expansion. And this is pretty, like if you watch right in here, right, this is what that divergence field is getting you. So this is without it. This is with it. So we're... Nope, I can't at all. Sorry. I would say go watch the SIGGRAPH presentations or go watch the FMX talk from Kai. That's the extent of Houdini 20 that I can tell you about. But I think it'll be cool. How about that? There's some inside info. It's going to be really cool. But those are great presentations as well. You should go check them out. The feather stuff is really neat. And I've actually been like able to have a lot of conversations around that. And it's fun. It's cool. I think it'll be really nice. So anyways, this is the divergence that you're seeing. And really it's just, again, it's adding a outward pressure. You were hoping it'd be cool. See? Shoot, I gave it away. It's going to be cool. Oh, man, marketing is going to be mad at me. Everybody's going to be mad at me. I said it was going to be cool. Sorry, it's going to be lame. That's what I meant to say. Don't tell anyone I said it's cool. Say it's lame and then be surprised when it's cool. How about that? It'll be cool, but it's lame. It's lame. Just kidding. Anyways, okay, so we've got we've got this going. And yeah, it's definitely doing what I wanted it to. And really it's all about these. I think it's about these like little additions to it. Right. And knowing what the end result is that you want to get, right. I wanted it to have a little bit of thickness to those paths, but I didn't want it to go crazy. So you kind of have to know where that happens. Another thing to keep in mind is if you want, your dissipation, if you want it to dissipate a lot quicker, turn that dissipation up a little bit. If you want it to kind of evaporate or go away, right? If you want more density emitted in, go to 10 on this and see what happens, because now it's going to be way more dense, right? So now we've got this really thick density going on here, on top of the fact that I'm adding multiple multipliers onto density as well. Now, the thing that this will change a little bit about the dispersion, actually, I'm kind of liking some of what I'm seeing there, which is fun, but I probably would go in between. But one thing that this will change, and you might already be seeing it a little bit here, is the way that this disturbance is happening. It is also thresholded on density. So if the density is all higher, it can change a little bit. Now, not going to change drastically, but just something to keep in mind and know. So anyways. Another thing too is if you want this to be in a windy day or something like that, or have something applied, you add your wind in, maybe add a little bit of turbulence in, and that's going to start, blowing this off into the distance a little bit, right? So it's all going to drift to the side now. Now it's not going to, it's not going to, what's the word? It's not going to like evolve and kind of add this noisy effect into it. Turbulence is usually a little bit of a bigger kind of not slow moving, but a bit larger scale, whereas disturbance is like on the almost on like a per voxel type noise. The turbulence is going to just kind of blow it generally around. So now we're going to get this kind of drifting, sort of meandering look here, which is cool too. Like maybe you have a scene where you have a little bit of wind in it or whatever, play around with that. So that's, maybe you had fireworks or something like that. That's one big thing that you do maybe not think about when you're animating a firework, is like every time you're ever at fireworks, the smoke drifts afterwards. So like it's knowing those little details about your scene so that you can add those things in, right? So just it's always the little details that make simulations more interesting, I think. It's those little tiny kind of finishing touches. And so this is doing some some interesting things. It might be what you want, it might not be, but just something to keep in mind. Also, I think in here, yep, there's wind direction. This is kind of a newer UI. If you ever see this, where there's like a checkbox and it pulls up in like this this wind speed kind of tucks into the wind here. Just know that a lot of times there's other things inside of here, so don't be afraid to twirl those things down and kind of see what's going on. But this, I really like the way that this has been done, because you can close everything up and you still have some control over it if you want to like minimize your, you know, your space, especially disturbance. That's huge. So you could twirl that up and you get much nicer little UI field there as well. So cool. So we're sort of got a nice look going, I think, for our sim here. Actually, that was what I was going to do. I was going to change this to 7.5. Kind of like that better. But let's actually tweak how the particle sim is working, right? Because that's really what's driving this. And I mean, another thing to note here is like this effect is like super simple. Like we've got a few nodes here. We're getting some particles. We've got a few nodes here. We've got volumes at the end, right? So these are our, you know, our velocities stuff at the end. Oh, right. Right. So there's our volume at the end, right? So we've got volumes, and if you want to, I'll put this as VDBs and stuff. You can do that here. All that stuff. Cool. Anyways, let's tweak a little bit this. I'm going to turn this off so it doesn't accidentally sim in the background. Let's tweak a little bit how this works here, right? Let's do something in here that might be more interesting. Let's see. What is the thing I was thinking of? Pop attract. Let's do that. And let's have an attraction force maybe that goes across this or something. Can we see where this is? Does this change it? Yeah, it does. Okay. So let's do this. Let's have like a goal that maybe goes across this and kind of moves from side to side here. And we'll see sort of what happens here. So let's put this at maybe 5. We'll start it at 7.5 here. And let's just go across to let's just go negative 7.5. Yep. Yeah. I don't think that's enough to actually do anything right now. So let's see what we get. Just give it a good amount of force there. Okay, that's maybe a little too much. So let's do this. Cool. So that's something. Got some. Just kind of play around with this a little bit, see if I can give it any more. What does this do? Don't remember what these all do. I haven't played with pops in a little bit. Let's do follow and see if that does anything interesting. No. Weird. All right, let's just give it maybe just a little more. All right, that's looking pretty cool. We've got some like particles maybe following after it for a little bit while it kind of trails across. So let's see what that does for our simulation. We'll change it a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to increase the force a little bit more just so we can see this as a more obvious. Yeah, cool. Cool. Let's go back into Pyro. They're kind of all circling around that like target as it goes. And there you can see they all kind of like come out of the cloud. A little crazier. Maybe not super interesting, but we can see how we can kind of influence this, right, pretty easily from just taking something like, you know, a goal position or something that it might want to follow. There you can really see the scattering kind of coming through where there's a lot of that fire kind of happening in the center there. Oh, right. Guess I should be looking at this Pyro solver. It'll actually play back quicker. Yeah. So that's, you know, that's something we could certainly add in there as well. Another thing maybe to play around with would be, add this here. I think there's a pop flock. Now I don't remember how this exactly works, but let's see. Let's see if we can get it to work. Maybe we'll do like all right, let's give them a little longer lifetime, maybe. Might be a little more interesting. All right. Where's that? Source, right here. So birth, let's do like 3. We'll do 1 there. All right, let's see what happens here. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Something interesting happening there. Let's do this. Let's add a little more into this. And pop flock. Let's not do that so strong. We'll just have it be more like that. Maybe 15. And let's do this. Let's really shoot these guys up in the air. Turn the drag down even a little more. I'm actually going to turn the gravity down a little bit. I don't think we need it to fall quite so hard. We'll just do -5. That's like half. Yeah, it's kind of something. Something's going on there. Not sure what all these things are going to do, but kind of interesting. Yeah, so we're getting something here. Let's actually go back down a little bit with that. We don't maybe need so many in there. But yeah, so we could do that. Maybe give this a little more force. Nope. I don't like what that's doing. Let's try that. Yeah, it's kind of cool. A bit of like flocking behavior. Kind of neat. See if this does anything interesting for us with the traction force. Sort of. Maybe a little too much. The nice thing about this is you can kind of just iterate on it pretty quickly. Like, you know, you can just keep going around and around with this and just kind of making it, you know, however you might see fit. Maybe if I just do that, that's cool. So yeah, this is sort of what, you know, this is maybe how I would play around with this, and just know too that like you have, we'd have any of these pop nodes that we can use, right? So if you wanted to use different steering or whatever, like I don't even know what this is gonna do. Not even sure. Let's just try it. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's do like 4 different groups and see what that does. Yeah, kind of interesting. I think there's also like a pop. Well, I guess we could play around with that a little bit. I know it's going to freak my my microphone out, but I'm not really much of a rendering person, honestly. It's not really anything I've ever specialized in, and we could certainly play around with it a little bit maybe this evening before I'm done here. But yeah, that's a good question. I'm definitely, yeah, I'm always a little hesitant because I am definitely not I'm not very good at it. So, but oh, that's kind of cool. Wow, that looks way cooler when it's like this. I actually wasn't even expecting it to look that cool. Let's see, where's that final camera here? Ooh, I made it too big. It's going up too high. Definitely need a few more sub-steps for some of these speeds here that it's hitting, but well, let's do this. Let's file cache that out. Let's just see how this looks here. Whoa. weird. Oh, right. The visualization doesn't look right. Yeah. Right. Let's do... Yeah, I think it'll be fine. Just do this. And yeah, let's just do that. All right, hopefully my microphone is still okay with this. Hopefully this is just gonna be fine. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's take a look at how this is going. Cool. Final. Let's just go back like this. All right. Let's do a... Let's do a LOP network. Oh, if you want to check out, Karma stuff and specifically rendering and things like that, let me show you this real quick while this is going in the background. Side effects. There is a new thing that just came out. Where is it? I thought it would be right here. Yes, Adam Swab. Yes. Just want to give some... yeah. So where is that? Why can I not find that? Yeah, I saw it on his Twitter, or I saw it a few different places as well. Hold on. I will find that because I've definitely seen it somewhere. There it is. Like, why is that so hard to find? I don't understand. Also, what's happening? Not loading? Hello? Cool. Anyways, this is what it is. I'll just copy this into the chat. It's also on the Houdini YouTube channel. Okay. Yep. Oh, cool. Yeah. Drop that in the Discord. I'd be thrilled to see that. That'd be neat. Yeah, for sure, Epoxy. Throw that in there. I'd love to throw that. You could throw that under work in progress or whatever. I'd love to see what you were making from it. But anyways, yeah, that Adam Swab thing. If you want some real good Solaris-y kind of rendering stuff, take a look at that. All right, let me go over to this Solaris and let's just do a scene import. I think that should be enough. I think that'll be good. Let's grab those. Okay, so one thing just to mention. Oh, there it is. Cool. Coming in. That's great. Let's see, where's our camera? Camera came in as well. Perfect. One thing to note here is that when you're bringing stuff in with the with any type of import, well, specifically with this, sorry, when you're bringing things in with the scene import, you can get these weird these weird kind of hierarchies, right? And what this is doing is this is basically just giving a hierarchy to where this Pyro shader lives in the like the hierarchy of your object path, right? Because everything has to have paths basically in USD and therefore in Solaris. So what it wants to do by default with your materials right here is to import them, and it gives them a destination path. What you might want to do is something like flatten hierarchy and then give it a path like materials. And now we just have materials, Pyro shader, right? And let me see if this actually is already applied. Might be. No. Yes, it is. So we have a Pyro shader bound to it, which is good. However, excuse me. If we do a dome light, let's just do that real quick. Actually, I think I found out that, well, let me see. Go up to HFS. There's a lot of stuff that gets put into here that I okay, those are HDRIs. Thought there was there's a lot of funny stuff in here, actually, some weird stuff. All right, we'll just use one of these. That's fine. Just grab that. Cool. And if I change this over to Karma, it's probably going to freak out. Oh, right. Sorry, what I'm going to do is do Karma. Throw the Karma node down, and I am going to set... I think I can do it in here. Maybe not. I thought there was a way to do it in there. Anyways. So this is just obviously rendering through Karma. This is just Karma CPU. Turn that off. And, this is just the material that's coming in by default from the principled shader, basically Pyro shader type thing from originally Mantra, now that's been ported into CPU. The only thing here is that we don't really have a lot of control over it, right? So that's kind of unfortunate. So let's just see what we can do here to make this a little more interesting. I can just leave that there. It's just a camera edit. So let's, instead of using this material, instead of importing the materials, let's just check that off. And so I don't think it's even going to do much of anything because it needs to have something to know how to render it. So let's do a material library. It seems like every time I do this, it's Pyro, actually, which is funny. XPU Pyro preview. And we'll just say... No, I'll just say fireballs. Cool. Great. We'll tweak that in a second. I'm just going to assign that material. You can do it in here as well, but I don't always like to do it here. I'd rather this just kind of bring that in and then I can assign it somewhere else. You know, do with that what you will. I'm just going to drag these in here, do some set the volume for the primitive, and the material path is the fireball's material. So now we should have that assigned. If we do a dome light, there we go. Oh, the thing I should actually do now that I'm thinking of it is this should be down here. Should actually not even need to cache that. Cool. Okay. Okay. So we've got this render. Let's see here. How's this looking? Yep. So what we need to do now, obviously, is set all these attributes and things like that. So let's just, oh, it's just setting my edits for these cameras all over the place. I'm just going to get rid of those. We'll just keep it as it is. If we need to move around, I'll just come out of the camera and just move in a little closer to it. Cool. So we've got our assigned material, our material library here. Let's jump inside. Let's change the smoke color first of all. We'll bring this down to like a darkish color, maybe 0.2, something like that. I think we had this at like 15 before, maybe 10. I don't remember. Scatter, I think that was at 250. Cool. Fire also at 250. Whoa, hey there. Hello? Why is that so insane? Maybe my bindings are weird. Oh, yes, because because it's using temperature. I think what we want to do is we want to do flame. I think. Hello? Interesting. I'm not sure why that's... See, this is why... this is why I don't do this stuff. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm missing something stupid. What am I missing? All right. Let me try something. I shouldn't have baked it like that. I should have baked it here. Or sorry, cached it here. Let me just save that to disk again. Because I could do some, let's see here. What is it called? Pyro post process. There we go. So this will bake it. This will do a post process on it. Let's just convert this to VDB. I feel like that's going to be better. I can't say for sure, but I think that'll be better. I think my computer's going to be mad at me now. Because now I'm doing too many things at the same time. I don't know. Excuse me. Wow. I don't know why that's looking so different. Bake the emission in. You could try that as well. All right, so instead of this, maybe this. All right, that's done. Cool. Let's go back over here and see if we can't pull that up. No. What about this? Yep, this is why I don't normally do this stuff, because rendering is always fraught with problems. I don't know why that's not working right. I mean, also this is the Pyro preview node, so that could be part of it. Oh, also, does Pyro preview work with CPU dummy? Maybe not. Maybe not. This is probably gonna freak everything out, so hold on to your butts. Yeah, that's the problem. It wasn't listening because it was just doing the it's supposed to be with CPU or with XPU. All right, so yeah, it's sort of working, sort of not. Not super thrilled with that, but it's also kind of hard to see, I guess. Posted it. Cool. I'll have to take a look at that. Excited to see that. Yeah, so this is, I mean, it's something. definitely not great, but it's something. So yeah, there we have it in Solaris, sort of doing something. But I would say certainly, if you guys have any questions about bringing stuff into Solaris, I'm definitely more comfortable answering those questions than trying to answer questions about rendering and things like that. But tried my best. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about that, you can also watch the videos that I did for side effects. There's 3 of them right now that are all USD with Solaris based, and those I think give a pretty good walkthrough of working with the kind of USD side of Solaris. What I'm doing right here is actually a complete mess. Like, I wouldn't normally do this. I'm just doing this super quickly to show you how you can bring things in and render it. However, this is certainly not the way I would do things if I was trying to be all clean about it and everything. So usually with USD, you want to have a much better hierarchy, be way more deliberate with where you're putting things. But anyways, so hopefully this gave you some interesting ideas. Oh, cool. I'm excited to see. Oh, yes. Nice. Oh, cool. That's really nice. I actually saw that on your Instagram. I was looking at it today, actually, which is funny. I just didn't know that that's what you did it with. That's really cool. Very nice. Very, very nice. Yeah, way to go. Yeah, so hopefully, we have something interesting here, at least from like a conceptual standpoint of what, can be done with Pyro, and what, how we can kind of use different sources to kind of make things, move around and animate and stuff like that. If you wanted these streaks to be longer fire trails, you could add a trail, add a trail sop up here, and do something just like, do a trail sop up here maybe, and just give it an increment of one, and, or maybe give it a couple things like that. I'm not sure if we can actually reduce that a little. Yeah. So you could do something like that where you'd give it, a little trail behind it, and that'll allow for those, those leading edges to be a bit longer if you wanted to. Obviously you could kind of play around with that however you might want it to go. But that's something interesting as well, where you could do that. It's probably a little hard to see. Sorry. I don't understand how that actually switched around on us now that I'm thinking of it. Oh, I know what happened. I changed my view. That's what I did. But yeah, there you go. That's, you could do something like that, get some trails out of it. Could be a different way to source it as well. Another thing that if you look at the Pyro source, what is it? Pyro source. Pyro trail source. Nope, not the muzzle flash. This actually, could we plug that in here? I don't know what this is going to do. It's probably going to freak something out. No. I'm just playing now. But I think the Pyro, what is it? Trail. Oh, yes. I think you need the trail path and then the trail source is what it does. Yeah. So that's the trail path, like so. And then I think you do the trail source. There we go. And then this is another idea for how you can kind of source those particles. You could have them as like a little cone in there, more or less. And you can kind of do something like that. That's how the trail path is done. Now, this is a little different. I mean, you just have to, kind of know how you're messing with the P scales of those and things like that. So, yeah. So anyways, just some ideas that you could kind of use as well. These trail paths are really cool because it's not simulated at all. So it just, you can just go in here and, yeah, you can do this and just like have them all offset like that, all sorts of different things. And you can just watch the trail path here, and this just animates on its own. So you don't even need to, worry too much about simulation or anything. So that's a static, a more procedural way of doing something like this. So lots of stuff you can do there. But anyways, I think that is where we'll end it for this evening, unless anybody has any questions or thoughts or anything like that. I mean, certainly I'm open for ideas. If you have comments, drop them in the chat. Always happy to have a conversation about, honestly, just about whatever. If you guys have any suggestions for future streams, please drop them into the Discord server. In fact, I think I saw somebody do that tonight. Yep, some suggestions for mechanical rigging. Interesting. Yeah, that could be an interesting thing to look into. Um, but yeah, so always open for, questions and comments and being able to kind of talk about different things. But if not, that's cool too. Happy to be done. But that certainly here for questions and comments and being able to help however we can. So so next week, just before anybody maybe has any questions, or while people are maybe typing up a question if they have it, next week I don't think there will be any streams. I'm going to be on vacation, so there won't be a Mops Monday, and there won't be just a regular Houdini Hangout on Wednesday, unless I'm like really itching to get back into it on Wednesday, because I technically will be back home by Wednesday night. So just keep an eye on social. My plan is to not do it, but if I do decide that I haven't done enough Houdini over the weekend, I might do it. So we'll see. But the plan is probably not. It'll probably just be better to give myself a little vacation, little chill out time. But one thing I do want to make a little announcement of is we have another guest that's going to be joining the stream coming up soon. And if we go to the Houdini Hangout website, it will actually be kind of a special day for the stream. So we'll actually be doing kind of 2 streams 2 days in a row, but that's okay. I don't mind that. And if we look at this here, this is the kind of upcoming schedule for things. And so I actually have this next Wednesday in there. I'm probably I'll just leave that just as a maybe, but I'm not going to make any promises. But on the 24th, which is actually a Sunday, and it's actually really early for me, you can see the time on there for me, we're going to be doing a guest host. Matt Estella is going to join me, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different stuff, kind of just chat and talk about, kind of how, maybe some things that he's put on his wiki. We'll talk a little bit about, any number of things, kind of how he goes about doing those things, where he gets his ideas from, a little bit of maybe just even the background of how he's kind of decided on different topics to put in there. So I think it'll be really interesting. I mean, Matt is obviously a wealth of knowledge, and has poked and prodded at every different part of Houdini pretty much that you could possibly imagine. So it'll be a really cool conversation. Hopefully that'll be really entertaining for everyone. It is really early in the morning because he lives in Sydney, and he's 14 hours difference from me. So it was actually a little tricky to figure out a good time for both of us to actually get that done. So if you can't join live, totally understand. It'll be probably best for people that are in either in the kind of far Pacific time zones or in Europe, because that'll be kind of in the daytime for you. But hey, if you want to be crazy and get up early in the morning, feel free. I'll be up and chatting with Matt. But if not, you can always catch it after the fact. And I'm going to put out some stuff on social media, and I'm sure he will as well. But yeah, it should be pretty fun. Hopefully, be very entertaining. And if you want to hear a couple guys just nerd out about Houdini and just shoot the breeze and talk about a whole bunch of different stuff that he's done, that'll be kind of the plan. And we're kind of figuring out exactly what the topic will be, but we both just love chatting about Houdini, so it should be pretty fun. But yeah, so that is, I guess, really all I've got for this evening. Hopefully that was just a nice little, change of pace from mops and different things like that, maybe the vellum and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this should be really fun. So hopefully everybody has a great rest of their evening or day or whatever time it is for you. And yeah, go vote. Oh yeah, when I post the socials, yeah, that is tricky. So there should be Houdini bars where people hang out. I mean, that's where you got to go to those hug events and stuff. You got to find those, the user group events. But yes, there should be Houdini bars. So when I post to social, I'll post to a couple different places. I'll post to Twitter. I'm just going to do this because it's not technically Twitter anymore. And I hate that, but that's like one of the places that people still are. I haven't gotten on Threads or any of that stuff yet. I did do a Mastodon when I thought that was going to happen. And so I have a Twitter, a Mastodon, and a LinkedIn. So all of those places I usually post before streams. So if you're following me in any of those places, you should be able to get the information. But if not, I think it's, there's a Twitter linked here. I guess I should probably put the Mastodon in there. Oh, hey, that's me. Weird. I should probably put the Mastodon link there as well. I just thought of that now. Yeah, I guess you never know when Twitter's going to explode, and it has kind of a couple times. But sorry, you didn't see that. I was scrolling on my webpage and I saw my face. Sorry, I forgot what I was showing on the stream. Anyways, so yeah, those are the socials that I'm on. And what is Twitter? You mean X? I hate it. I hate it so much. Stupid X. Gosh, I am so conflicted about, not conflicted. I really just get so annoyed, and this is going to get a little, it's a disaster. I'm not going to get political here, but just Elon Musk has annoyed me recently. And I really hate it because I loved what he was doing with SpaceX. And anyways, I just love space stuff. And anyways, it's just really annoying to me, and it's just really frustrating. So I'm maybe I'll do Threads at some point. I don't know. It's just too many things for me to keep track of. It's crazy. Anyways, so that's where the socials where I'm at. And yeah, hopefully if you need to find me, you can find me in one of those places. But I usually post there. I also post in the Discord. So those are the 4 places that you can find me. I usually post Discord, LinkedIn, Mastodon, and Twitter. So if you can't find me in one of those places, I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. I'm just a guy in his office. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys all for joining me and chatting, and yeah, always fun. And I'll probably see you guys maybe next week, maybe the week after, but definitely on Sunday with Matt, and we'll be chatting Houdini. So hopefully I'll see you then, if not sooner. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.